Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival. I'm your host, Carol Kahn. We are coming to you live on Facebook and from the Sedona Performing Arts Center. And joining me now is someone who I adore and who has been here time and time again. I think for the last 4 years I've seen you. Erin, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you. I got into Sedona and I was like, where's the media booth? I gotta see my friend. Here I am.
And you brought your mom along, so
I did.
I mean, you know how much I love her too.
Yes, you'll see my mom around the festival. She looks like me, just like maybe 2 years older. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I told her she needs to bring me that jacket.
Yeah. She's got some
I'm
good
saying
fashion
that
sense.
live so she hears me.
She's off screen right there.
Oh, I see her. So how have you been?
Oh, crazy year. Pandemic's nuts, but, lots of good stuff too. Spent a lot of time writing, just did a 7.5 mile hike this morning, so I am feeling a little crazed right now, but, love Sedona. Love it, even in the heat.
Awesome. I heard you got lost.
How did you know that? Did you talk to Monique?
No.
No, wait, who'd you talk to?
I'm not telling, but I just heard you got lost. What happened?
I just, the trail, sometimes it looks like the trail goes two directions and you have to go, and then you're like, shoot, trail's ending, you double back, you go the other way, so... Just a couple of forks that turned out to be not intentional forks, or not forks that we were supposed to take. But
right. And you made it here, so
we
you're
made
good.
it back. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, all the writing that you've been doing, I understand that you won an award just recently for your new piece that you're working on. So share with us that.
Yeah, so I'm just so thrilled that the judges here in Sedona responded to my new short screenplay, The Body of Chris. And The Body of Chris, I'm going to tell you guys the logline. It's a new project, and I'm again just did 7.5 miles, so I'm going to read the logline, and then I'm going off book. But here is what it's about. An overworked youth pastor streaks through church, igniting a civil war among leadership over this PR nightmare and the question: how should the body of Christ handle the body of Chris?
Interesting. So where did all this come from? I mean, was this in quarantine? Is this when you came up with this, or?
I came up with the idea before quarantine, but finally had the time. Like it was in my head for a while, and I was figuring out how to, the way into it, over the course of a year. And then when I got into quarantine, that's when I cracked it. But essentially, the premise of this again started with a hot day, not unlike today, but it was hot in LA this time, and I was going to go to church on a Sunday morning, and it was just very, very hot. And I joked to my husband, I was like, everyone should just go naked today. Because it was just so hot. It was like 100 degrees. And then I was like, I wonder what would happen if somebody did. But I started taking it very seriously, right? I started thinking well, this person would react this way. This person would worry about me. If they would be what's wrong with you? Are you okay? This person would just be get out of here, you're embarrassing us. And I started realizing all of these different personalities that would truly react differently if somebody, especially somebody that was out of their mind, had shown up to church. And for a while I was developing it with the idea that somebody was on a drug trip or something, but eventually I came, and this is what I kind of cracked in quarantine, and maybe it seems so obvious now, but it was not obvious at the time when I was trying to crack it at first. But I realized that it was more impactful if it was somebody who worked at the church and who was having a stress-induced mental breakdown. There's a large history of people in ministry positions that have had these sort of stress-induced breaks, and some of them have resulted in public nudity. And I just find the whole thing fascinating. I did a lot of research around it, and I thought, nudity is interesting because there's these aspects of vulnerability that comes with being naked. So the film play really does get into this idea of vulnerability through a kind of roundabout way. But there's also transparency that comes through that, which is interesting. And there was one other thing. I had 3 words. It'll come back to me. But yeah, the film by the end, it really does come around to what I think is a kind of poignant place, even though there's obviously a lot of laughs played throughout the middle. And I was able to say something that I wanted to say, which is revolving mainly around, like, you know, my background does come from being a Christian and being, while I've held on to my faith throughout all of my years of life, I've become really, what's the right word? I guess, like, frustrated with the way my faith's been contextualized in its Western subculture, and like a lot of the problems that you see in the American church in particular, judgmentalism that comes out of it, legalism that comes out of it, things that feel like the opposite of love. So I wanted, and I've seen a lot of scripts where people who left that life behind critique it, but I haven't seen a lot of things that felt like someone was critiquing it from the inside.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like that, and I know you very well with the films that you've put together, but these are things that are personal to you. Sometimes people do documentaries or whatever that are, or films that are things that are happening in the environments and or out in public, and they want to, you know, discuss that.
Sure.
But a lot of what you do is very personal.
Really interesting that you bring that up, because I've been kind of looking at all my work and trying to figure out what is the connecting thread. And something that I've realized is I'm really interested in internal arcs, whereas like a lot of movies are like, you know, man versus big problem in society, or man versus, you know, tornado, or like, you know, just more external. I really am and I think all movies do have, like, their main character does have an internal arc, but there's some movies where like the internal is truly like the A story. Mm-hmm. And I'm really drawn to movies where the internal is the A story. And I think that the way that you do that and still keep the stakes really big is it has to be so personal to you, because you have to know the characters like inside and out right. in order to really, really fully realize those stakes without having, you know, like in a Marvel movie when, you know, the world is ending or in like a very social justice oriented sort of awesome documentary where it's like this awesome, terrible thing in society that we need to fix. So I look at like, okay, the root of that terrible thing in society, that's something inside of us, that's selfishness, that's, you know, whatever it is. In the case of Body of Chris, I think that there's this sense of how we often care too much about our public persona and how we're going to be perceived. And so instead of caring for other people in our life, when we're given the opportunity to care for other people, we might think about how caring for them in that moment, like we might want to distance ourselves from someone that's a problem rather than caring for that person that's a problem. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. I don't know. I'm really tired, guys. It's a 7.5 mile hike. But yeah, just legalism and being so focused on how am I being perceived rather than who cares how I'm being perceived if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm helping someone, if I'm caring for someone in the moment. That's what I wanted to look at.
So you usually come here with films, and not just one. Sometimes it's 2 and 3 films for one film festival.
I've done that.
Guilty. So what's different about this particular project that you're working on, and what is it that you need?
Sure. So for one, I mean, the last few projects I've done, I've developed with other people, but this was really me stepping out on my own and saying something that I just wanted to make that came completely from me, wasn't a collaboration with somebody else in terms of the writing and the concept itself. So for me, that's new, because I've always been a director, and then I came to writing over the past few years, and I started writing by, you know, pitching ideas to writers and working with them and giving notes, and then I started to co-write, and in the last few years I started writing, and I've written a number of features, but this was the first time I wrote a short, and so this will end up being, you know, if this happens on the kind of timeline that I want it to, which is soon, it would be the first thing that I directed that I wrote all on my own. That was just completely 100% Erin Brown-Thomas. So yeah, I've assembled like a really, really great team starting off around this. We're still of course building out more people, bringing more people on, but I have some producers attached already, one of which, you know, had a film that was in Berlin this year and was just this past week in Tribeca with another film, and a production company that has just like a really fantastic record of getting films in Cannes, Sundance, like big festivals that are great festivals to kickstart the journey of a film. I have a great casting director on board, so I'm starting to assemble a team, and I'm really handpicking people to make sure that not only are they people who have been really successful in what they've done, but also feel connected to the material. And yeah, the next step for me is just getting it funded.
That's always the dirty word.
It is the dirty
getting
word,
it funded.
but I mean, it's really great though. I mean, and I have a feeling though there are people out there that will connect with whether they come from the same faith background as me or a completely different one. I had a feeling, Sedona, I think of it as like a very like spiritual town, not necessarily a Christian town. I'm not saying that there's no one here that is, but when I wrote this, I remember turning to my mom and being like, I feel like this script would play so well in Sedona. So I was so happy when it ended up getting the screenplay award here, simply because there is this sense of like sort of freedom and liberation that comes at the end of the script. And I really don't want to give away the ending unless, if you have money and you want to help, like I'll let you read the ending. Just like that's the prize. But I'm just sort of pivoting into that place where different people who are passionate about the material want to get involved with a director that has a track record like me and hopefully make something really beautiful to put out in the world. And funny, like it's very, very funny script. Lots and lots of laughs, packed full of jokes, but like it really does end in a place that makes you think and makes you feel and makes you sit with uncomfortable feelings in a way that is good. So I think there's a lot of people out there who want to be a part of that, and so I'm just looking to assemble the people that want to be a part of that to help me incrementally get closer and closer.
Awesome. Well, your mom's nodding her head over there, so I know that she's in agreement that this is a good project. So if you want to help Erin, her mother, who agrees, how can they find you?
Sure. I'm Erin Brown-Thomas. So if you Google me, there's all kinds of ways to find me. ErinBrown-Thomas.com, Erin Brown-Thomas, or Erin Brown-Thomas _filmmaker on Instagram, Erin Brown-Thomas on Twitter. They're spelled the way you think they'd be. ErinBrown-Thomas. Just 3 basic names put together to be something fabulous.
Absolutely. It's so good to have you back here. Congratulations on the Screenwriters Award. I'm so proud of you, and it's so great having you here.
I'm really, really proud to have won an award here because this is such a special festival to me.
Awesome. Yeah, we're so glad to have you here, and make sure the next time you have your GPS on so you know how to get back from your hike.
I know, I really need to. Whew. Maybe get up like an hour early. I thought 7 a.m. was early enough, but I really should have started at 6.
Well, it's so good to see you. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
And we will be back with more from the Sedona International Film Festival after this.